I never imagined my life would change when I found an abandoned girl on my ranch. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. I was out in the fields, sun beaming down, sweat trickling down my back. That's when I heard Ida's soft whimper, barely audible over the rustling wheat. It sent icy fingers down my spine. Curiosity pulled me in, heart racing, breath hitching. I stumbled toward the sound. There she was, curled up beneath the old oak tree. Dirt streaked across her small face, eyes wide and haunted. Beneath the grime and confusion, I saw fear. It curled around her like a shroud. My heart raced. How could she be here? No one lived for miles. I took a step closer, the ground crunching beneath my boots. "Hey, little one," my voice was soft, as if the air itself could shatter. Her eyes darted to me, uncertainty washing over her fragile features. I felt my breath hitch. It was striking how small and alone she looked. Her clothes were tattered, one sleeve torn completely off. I reached down, hand trembling. "It's okay. You're safe now." But was she? The weight of those words hung heavy in the air that I glanced around, searching for answers. The ranch felt eerily quiet. The usual sounds of cattle and chickens seemed to fade. Something was off. Shadows danced in the corners of the field, and suddenly, I felt the oppressive silence envelop us. Do you have a name? I whispered, desperation creeping in. She just stared, eyes glistening with tears that refused to fall. I couldn't help but wonder what horrors she had seen. Suddenly, a low growl echoed from the tree-line, a sound so guttural it made my heart jump into my throat. I turned, heart pounding, instinct screaming. "Who's there?" The bushes shivered. Something was lurking, just out of sight. I felt a chill crawl up my spine as the girl's eyes widened in panic. I shook my head, trying to steady myself. "Stay close, okay?" I crouched as she shuffled toward me, her small hand gripping mine tightly. The thudding heartbeats echoed in my ears. I needed to protect her, but from what? The shadows around us thickened. My mind raced with questions, each one clawing at my sanity. Who had left her here? Why? My racing thoughts drowned out the world, leaving us disconnected from reality. Then, I heard a whisper. Soft. Malevolent. "You should have never found her." It slithered through the air like smoke, chilling my bones. My breath caught in my throat, paralyzed by fear. What did that mean? I looked down at the girl, her small frame trembling beside me. "Let's get you safe," I murmured. But safety felt like an illusion, a fragile dream slipping through my fingers. I turned back to the trees, throat tight, heart thrumming. But what awaited us behind those branches? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As I pulled the girl closer, the familiar warmth of the late afternoon sun felt little more than a mocking reminder of how fragile our reality had become. The shadows among the trees seemed to shift, as though they were alive, taunting us with their silent secrets. I was acutely aware of the gnawing sensation beneath my skin, the notion that danger was lurking just beyond our sight. "Let's get you out of here," I said, forcing a steadiness into my voice that I didn't feel. The girl looked up at me, her eyes filled with both trust and fear. I squatted down, swinging her small body into my arms. She was so light, as if the world had already tried to weigh her down but hadn't quite succeeded, that I turned slowly, the oppressive silence surrounding us weighing heavily. With every step away from the old oak, I felt the shadows recede. There was an instinct deep within me pushing me forward, urging me to escape whatever threat lay hidden in the grove, but the further we got from the oak, the more I felt her trembling. "What's your name?" I pressed gently, hoping to ground her in the moment. It had to be better than whatever her past held. "Lila," she whispered, her voice barely a soft breeze in the air. The name brought a small flicker of hope. It was not just a name, it was a lifeline, an identity she could hold on to. "Lila," I repeated, testing the syllables. Sam. "I'll take care of you." Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that my promise was a fragile thing, a piece of glass that could shatter at any moment. As I reached the edge of the field, I glanced back one last time. The trees stood still, a daunting wall of uncertainty and fear. I took one more step and pulled her tighter against my chest, quickening my pace towards the barn. The sturdy structure loomed ahead, a safe haven amidst the chaos, but deep down, I knew safety was an illusion. Inside, I set her down gently and hurried to grab a blanket, wrapping it around her fragile frame. Lila clutched it tightly, her wide eyes scanning the dim space as if spotting the remnants of some lingering threat. "You can rest here, Lila." "I'll be right outside," I assured her, but the knot in my stomach tightened. I felt helpless being just a man against whatever malevolence hunted us. I stepped outside, closing the barn door behind me. As soon as the cool evening air hit my face, I was calmed slightly by the urgency to protect her. The sound of the wind through the fields was a whisper of solitude, but it couldn't drown out the echoes of my racing thoughts. What did that voice mean? Why had she been abandoned? And then, there at the edge of the yard, a flicker of movement. I squinted into the distance, the shadows morphed with the fading light, and I saw him. A figure standing ominously, just beyond the reach of the barn, watching. I felt a tremor in my bones. Could he be the one who had left her? The sense of dread grew heavy in my chest like a stone. "Get inside!" I shouted, adrenaline surging. I turned back to the barn and rushed to the door to slide it shut, heart pounding. But just as I did, I heard her voice behind me, barely above a whisper, "Please don't." I whipped around to see Lila standing at the threshold, eyes locked with mine, fear painted on her small face. He's here," she stammered, glancing beyond me toward the figure that still lingered, silent and menacing. My blood ran cold, realization crashing down like waves. "Lila, get away from there." Panic laced my voice, but her feet remained planted, as if the weight of the moment held her captive. "Sam, he's not here for you. He's here for me," she breathed, trembling as if every word was a feather that could blow away with the wind. I felt as if the ground beneath us was crumbling, and I desperately fought against the instinct to crumble along with it. With everything in me, I reached for her, the distance between us feeling insurmountable. "Get back inside. It's not safe." And that's when the shadows within the trees shifted again, and I felt the world tilt, the revelation hanging like a pendulum, an unthinkable truth. My heart raced with the implications, but before I could grasp a single thought, the figure took a step forward. A low, familiar voice resonated across the distance, chilling me to the bone. "Lila." A single word echoed through the fading light, threading a needle of dread through all my emotions. It was a name I never expected to hear, someone I thought I had lost. The world narrowed to that single sound, that one word. Lila, a name that twisted my stomach as if I had been stabbed with cold steel. My thoughts swirled chaotically, racing, fighting to assemble the pieces of a puzzle I'd never intended to solve. It couldn't be him. It shouldn't be him, Sam. Lila whimpered, her voice trembling as she took a hesitant step forward, the blanket slipping loosely from her shoulders. I know him. It's okay." The trust she had so bravely shown before now morphed into a hesitation tinged with an unsettling recognition. "No, Lila, listen to me." I dashed forward, closing the gap, and wrapped my arms around her, pulling her back. She felt so light, but there was a gravity in her gaze that anchored me. Her trust was now a fragile thread, and I was desperately trying not to sever it with my fear. The figure stepped into the last embers of light, his features now visible, though distorted by time and shadows. It was a face I hadn't seen in years, marred with age and weariness, yet those familiar blue eyes glinted with a kind of madness that sent a shiver through me. "Sammy, it's been a while," he said, that voice wrapping around consonants like an old lullaby turned sinister. It was my brother, Ryan. The prodigal son returning with a misguided mission, drenched in the darkness of who he had become. A multitude of emotions clashed inside me, tangled with anger, nostalgia filled with betrayal. "What are you doing here?" I spat, struggling to keep my voice steady. "You don't get to just come back. Don't you see, big brother? I've come for her." His gaze shifted to Lila, an unsettling hunger sparking in his eyes. "She's special, Sammy. Just like Mom always said." I felt Lila tremble against me, the weight of his words pressing down on her. "What do you mean, Ryan? What are you talking about?" I could barely look at him, the memories of laughter and unshed tears spiraling into view. A brother who had once been my greatest companion, now twisted by the darkness he embraced. "You could never understand," he said, taking another step closer, and I felt the protective instinct rise within me. "I need her. We need her. She has something that belongs to our family. The kind of thing that's worth our legacy." "What legacy?" I shouted back, fury and dread swelling like a tide within me. "The only legacy I see is one filled with nightmares and abandonment." "Nightmares? Abandonment?" Ryan's laughter was cold, void of warmth. "You haven't the faintest idea what's at stake. Lila's not just any girl. She has gifts that can change everything." The atmosphere around us thickened, shadows encasing the edges of my vision. I could feel Lila clutching me tighter, her small frame quivering as uncertainty gripped her tightly. "Sam, please," she whispered again, her fragile faith in me barely holding in the face of Ryan's presence. "Lila, you don't have to listen to him. You don't have to go anywhere with this madman." I squeezed her firmly, willing strength into our connection. The thought of her leaving with him sent a chill through my veins, drawing forth a primal instinct to shield her with everything I was. "Don't call me that," Ryan hissed, a sharp edge to his voice that cut deeper than I expected. "You don't know what you're protecting her from. I was the one who saw it first. I've known her longer than you've had the chance to." I wanted to scream, to drown out the confusion wrapping around my mind. All I could feel was the weight of betrayal and the fear of losing Lila to a past I thought I had escaped. The shadows around the barn began to stretch like fingers, clawing at the glimmers of hope. "Sam?" Lila's voice wavered, pulling me back from the ledge of panic. "What's happening?" I feel strange." The conviction in her voice, that youthful uncertainty turned desperate, rattled my heart. I couldn't fail her now. "Lila, listen to me. You are stronger than this." I looked into her eyes, willing her to see the truth beneath the chaos hovering around us. "You are not alone. You have me now. We'll figure this out together." As if sensing my resolve, a spark ignited within her gaze. But it was quickly drowned by the weight of Ryan's next words. "You don't get to decide that for her, Sam. She belongs with her own kind. They are waiting for her." "What are you talking about? Who are they?" "The ones who understand her, and you can't protect her from that truth, little brother." Before I could respond, shadows thickened, encroaching upon us from the darkness of the wood. I could feel an impending wave, a tide of fate gathering force, ready to pull precious Lila into an unknown abyss. "Get inside, Lila. Now!" I yelled, adrenaline coursing through me as I moved toward Ryan, positioning myself as a barrier between him and the girl who had come to mean everything. But as Lila hesitated at the doorway, a strange glimmer caught her eye. It was then that I realized the truth. In the darkness, there were eyes watching back, shapes shifting beneath the branches, eager to lurch forward. They were waiting for her too, poised to reveal secrets that should have remained buried. "Sam!" Lila cried, her face twisting into a mask of terror as the air thickened with something darker than shadow. And just like that, I was left standing at the precipice of chaos, feeling the ground shift beneath my feet. Every scrap of certainty I held onto slipped away as whispers threaded through the air the names of things long forgotten, threatening to unravel the fabric of our reality. The air was heavy with a tension that pulsed like an invisible heartbeat, and I could feel Lila's warmth radiating against the cold sweat of my own uncertainty. I took a deep breath, searching my mind for a way to anchor us both, a lifeline amidst the unpredictable storm that had crashed into our lives. Ryan's presence loomed larger than life, a specter of the family we once were, now twisted into a grotesque reminder of what had been lost. "Tell her to come home, Sam," Ryan said, the calmness of his voice unnerving as if he were addressing a feeble child instead of an equal. "She belongs with us." "With me." I heard the tremor in Lila's voice, filtering through her fear like a soft crack in glass. "I don't understand." "Home? I don't even know where I belong." My heart shattered at the sound of her doubt, the very thing I had been trying to shield her from now unraveling her spirit. "Lila, you do belong here, right here with me." I pressed, desperation clawing at my throat. I had fought so hard to keep her safe and had only just begun to unravel her pain, but now it felt like quicksand, and every moment wasted sank us deeper. "Lila," Ryan said, a slow smile creeping across his lips, "you're special. You have power within you that will awaken. They're only waiting for you to embrace what you are." He took a step closer, and I stood my ground, a protective barrier against the inevitable pull of their bond. "You can't fight it forever." "I don't want to fight anything," Lila cried out, tears streaming down her cheeks. The paleness of her skin seemed to amplify every emotion rolling off her. I could see the tremors in her small hands and the uncertainty in her wide eyes, and it felt as if Ryan's wicked whispers were coiling around her throat like a vice. "Don't listen to him. Don't listen to any of this," I shouted, waging a silent war within myself. A maelstrom of emotion threatened to engulf me, anger mingling with a fierce need to protect the girl who had unleashed something beautiful within me. As shadows fluttered around, teasing the edges of my perception, flickers of light seemed to dance in Lila's gaze, a beacon of something brighter amidst the approaching darkness. "Sam," she breathed as if my name were a prayer, reaching out as if it were the only thing tethering her to reality. The darkness around us thickened. It was as if the very shadows sought to reclaim her, to draw her into the family legacy Ryan spoke of. They whispered secrets, spoke of ancient ties, of a bond that I couldn't comprehend. Every whisper sent more fear racing through me. I couldn't lose her. "Please, Sam," Lila pleaded, her voice barely a whisper, "help me understand." In that moment, a flicker of hope surged within me. She was still here, still fighting, still willing to search for the truth beside me. I smiled at her, then turned my gaze toward Ryan, my brother. I could see the desperation beneath the madness. Perhaps he saw something in Lila that I had yet to comprehend. "Let her go, Ryan. You don't own her," I pushed, trying to keep my anger from boiling over. "She's not a thing to be chosen or commanded. She has strength beyond your understanding." "Strength?" Ryan sneered, the contempt dripping from his voice. "This girl knows nothing of the world she's tied to. You think your love can shield her from what's to come? Love isn't enough, Sammy. It never was." The shadows pressed on, whispering promises of power in tones honeyed with malice. I felt the air thicken, charged with something primal, something that felt alive and hungry. But within me boiled a fierce determination, a bond forged amid hope and despair tethered to Lila's faith in me. "Whatever you think you are, whatever secrets you believe make you powerful, they don't define us. We make our own story," I shouted, feeling the weight of every decision I had made surge through my words. Lila's breath hitched, and for a moment, the shadows wavered, flickering like a candle ready to extinguish. I took a small step forward, urging her silently to take a leap of faith with me. "Trust me, Lila. Stand with me." But before she could truly respond, a sudden crack echoed through the barn. The door swung open more violently than I could have anticipated, revealing the figures lurking in the twilight darkness. They were not mere shadows, they were shapes, emerging illuminated by the pale moonlight outside, figures I had never seen before but instantly recognized. "Ryan, you have made a grave mistake," one of them said, a voice smooth yet chilling, slithering through the air like smoke. The crowd formed a circle around us, silhouettes obscured but menacing, and I felt the cold grip of dread tighten around my heart. "Who are they?" I shouted, instinctively pressing Lila behind me as though she could somehow be shielded from the truth. "They have come for what is theirs," Ryan replied, a dark satisfaction in his voice, echoing with betrayal as realization washed over me. He had orchestrated this. And as my heart thundered with impending dread, I caught a glimpse of colored symbols shimmering across Lila's skin, illuminating her in shades I had never seen before, a kaleidoscope of power. "Lila?" I gasped, feeling that chilling warmth morph into something more. With her eyes ablaze, she stepped out from behind me, gaining strength from somewhere deep within. "No, Sam. This is my truth," she said, fierce and unyielding. The shadows recoiled at her emergence, the impending storm swirling around her like a cyclone. But just as understanding dawned, so did the weight of inevitability. Truth was not something I could protect her from. A heartbreaking realization struck me: whatever war lay ahead would test both of us deeply, and the choice would never be mine to make for her. "Lila, please!" I shouted, reaching out, but as the figures advanced, shadows coiling around us like serpents, I realized the tie between us could be both a sanctuary and a prison. The moment stretched, and I could feel the ground shifting again, a heartbeat of uncertainty echoing in the air, as the storm began. And as the whispers echoed louder, inviting, haunting, something deep within me faltered. I braced for chaos, but the truth was much more unyielding than I had ever known. As the realization unfurled, I was left standing on the precipice of despair, and the ground beneath my feet shook to the rhythm of our fate. Lila stood resolute, shadows circling, as family ties strained against the bonds of choice. The night didn't relent, leaving me with a gut-wrenching question: would I be enough to save her from the darkness? The moon hung like a silent witness in the expansive sky, reflecting the chaos swirling inside the barn. My heart raced, a thundering drum signaling an impending storm. Lila, with her luminous skin, looked so brave and yet so fragile against the encroaching shadows that threatened to consume her. The knot in my stomach tightened as I steeled myself for the unknown. "Listen to me, Lila," I said, my voice strained but determined. "Whatever power they say you have, it doesn't define who you are. You are more than blood, more than legacy." She glanced back at me, and in her wide, fearful eyes, I saw confusion intertwining with a glimmer of hope, like a fragile flicker of light battling the suffocating dark. "But what if this is who I'm meant to be?" The question hung in the air like a heavy cloud, pregnant with uncertainty. "Then we will find a way to work through it together," I promised, though I felt the weight of my words laced with doubt. It seemed impossible to fight against the allure of power, especially when it pulsed so tantalizingly inside her. Just then, one of the figures stepped forward, illuminated by the creeping moonlight. The contours of her face emerged from the darkness, sharp and beautiful, yet suffused with a sinister chill. "Lila, darling," she cooed, her voice a slow caress. "You don't have to fight this. Embrace who you are." Her eyes glinted, filled with an unholy allure that rattled me to my core. "Stay back," I growled, taking a protective step toward Lila, my heart pounding with instinctual rage as adrenaline surged through me. The figure only chuckled gently, as if savoring my impotent fury. "Don't you see? We've come to reclaim what's missing. To guide you home, Lila. The truths nestled in this world are vast and beautiful, just like the power within you. Let us help you." Her words swirled in the air, thick like honey laced with venom. "Home," Lila murmured, her voice less than a whisper. "Two don't know what that means anymore." In that moment, a palpable silence descended, a stillness that felt wrong amidst the impending chaos. I could see the flicker of Lila's resolve wavering as the shadows danced, whispering promises of a forgotten lineage laced with dark magic and purpose. "We won't let them take you," I vowed, looking at her with fierce determination. "You are not just some puppet to be claimed or a prophecy to fulfill. Your home is wherever you choose to be." But deep inside, anguish twisted in my chest. I couldn't escape the insidious fear that she might choose something I wouldn't be able to understand, a dark legacy that could alienate us. Without warning, a sudden gust of wind swept through the barn, extinguishing the few candles lighting the corners. Darkness consumed us, and I could hear the whispers growing louder, shaping questions that echoed in the fears nesting deep within my heart. "Lila, focus on my voice." I called out, desperate to pull her back from whatever deceptive tendrils were curling around her consciousness. "You're stronger than this. Don't let them sway you." Suddenly, I felt Lila's presence beside me shift. I turned to find her holding her own, her hands raised as if embracing the shadows that swirled about us. "I want to know, Sam," she said softly, her expression revealing a depth of vulnerability and courage that struck me like a jolt. "Maybe I should embrace it, if it's a part of me." "No," I exclaimed, a fresh wave of terror flooding my perception. My hands shot out, clasping hers tightly. "Don't let them deceive you. Power can corrupt, trust me." But in her steadfast gaze, I saw the struggle between fear and curiosity, between the familiar and the unknown. The crowd encircled us tighter, their intentions pregnant with urgency, and amidst the cacophony of questioning murmurs, she remained right on the edge, wavering but not breaking. "Embrace it." Ryan taunted from the shadows, his expression one of possessiveness that cut deeper than I cared to admit. "This isn't about you, it's about her awakening to her true self." In a moment too quick to register, Lila stepped away, the space between us crackling with tension. The confidence in her eyes seemed locked onto an unseen horizon. "I have to know, Sam. What if this is the only way to be free?" "Free?" The word echoed through the barn, tinged with despair, the question weighing heavy in the air. "Free isn't losing yourself to darkness. This isn't the release you think it is." But as my pleas hung between us, that familiar darkness began to coalesce around Lila. The shadows pirouetted, weaving in and out of her own essence, and in that moment, I felt suddenly powerless. "No!" I shouted, but she had already begun to lift her arms, radiant energy pulsing between her fingers, intertwining with the darkness, creating a kaleidoscope of brilliance that left me breathless. Then, everything erupted in a cacophony of sound. A swirling vortex of energy and shadows enveloped her fully, rising like a storm above our heads, shaking the very ground beneath my feet. I could feel the vibrations throbbing in my bones, a visceral reminder of the chaos that comes with power unleashed, and then something made my heart stop. A momentary silence, as if the storm itself paused, and Lila looked at me, her eyes flickering with a mixture of determination and terror. "Sam, I'm scared." The vulnerability in her voice shook me to the core, and before I could find the right words, that swirling cocoon shattered, and threads of shadow launched toward me like spears. With a jolt, I realized, Lila was slipping away, becoming something far beyond me, and as chaos erupted, my soul screamed in desperate fear. Would I lose her in the tantalizing embrace of a darkness she didn't fully understand? In that fleeting moment, I saw our bond strained beyond recognition. The choice was hers to make. The storm had come, and with it, the aftermath would forever change everything I ever knew. The barn shuddered around us, groaning like a wounded beast as chaos unraveled with furious intent. Lila was at the center, a radiant figure amidst the turmoil, yet it was the entanglement of shadows and light that painted her true nature, transforming her into something between an angel and a tempest. That I was paralyzed, standing amidst a whirlwind of uncertainty and fear, aching to reach for her but sensing the chasm widening between us. "Lila!" I howled, my voice barely cutting through the maelstrom. "You're stronger than this. Don't let them take you." Her face was illuminated, caught between ecstasy and terror, and my heart twisted at the sight. Would I even recognize her if this darkness entangled her soul? Would I lose her to a world that promised power but demanded her very essence? "Please, Sam," she whispered, her voice wading through the tumult like a soft lullaby. "What if this is my chance to be more than what I am? I want to understand." "No!" I roared, desperation clawing at my throat. "Lila, this isn't understanding, this is relinquishing yourself to forces that don't care about you. Remember who you are." The figures around us, their intentions now more evident, more insidious, spoke words I couldn't hear. They drew closer, their intentions growing like a dark tide, chanting in unison, coaxing her with sweet promises that made my skin crawl. "Why do you fear the truth, Lila?" one of them declared, breaking through the haze with an enigmatic tone that turned my stomach. "Your lineage is born from strength. Embrace what lies within. What's so wrong with wanting strength?" she shot back, though I could feel the uncertainty creeping into her resolve. My heart twisted painfully at her words. Fear and yearning were battling for control. "What they offer is not strength, it's a chain," I pleaded, willing every ounce of my love to cross that chasm. "You are not a weapon to be forged, you are a person, and I need you to fight for who you truly are." The wind howled outside, rattling the barn, reflecting the tension cocooning us. I braced myself, feeling the weight of the moment dragging at my feet, my own emotions caught in the current swirling around us. With every heartbeat, memories flickered through my mind, days spent laughing in the sun, whispers shared in twilight, and the warmth of her hand in mine. "Lila," I called again. "We can do this together. You are not alone." For a fleeting instant, I saw her falter. The energy radiating from her dimmed slightly, revealing the girl I cherished beneath the chaos. "Together?" she whispered, uncertainty seeming to waver in her voice. "But what if?" Before she could finish, Ryan stepped forward from the shadows, a dark smile spreading across his face, his voice oozing with deceptive charm. "Together? Is that what he promises you, Lila? Or does he bind you to a life of mediocrity? There's nothing holding you back from your destiny." Destiny, the word left her lips like a sigh, filled with a longing that resonated painfully deep. "Don't be a fool. They're feeding on your doubts," I shouted, my voice cracking under the pressure. As my heart raced, despair clawed at my insides. "You have to believe in yourself, don't let them manipulate your fear." In that quiet struggle, a flicker of understanding passed between us, the air stilling as we managed to lock eyes through the wild storm. I could see the turmoil reflected in the depths of her gaze, the struggles of what she could become versus the heart that had always guided her. "Forget them," I urged fiercely. "You are that light. You can create your own fate." But the moment hung like a fragile thread, stretched to its limits, as Ryan stepped back into the darkness, nodding at the figures surrounding us. "Show her what she truly could possess," he beckoned, a cruel glint hinting at something darker within, and then, Lila gasped. The shadows erupted in a dizzying dance, swirling mandalas of power that crawled closer, eager to swallow her essence whole. And just like that, the promise of freedom transformed into a terrible snare. "Sam!" she cried, her hands flailing, a sudden hesitation wrapped in desperation. "Help me!" My stomach plummeted as I lunged forward, desperate to bridge the widening, gaping void, but the shadows laid claim to her, shimmering threads snaking around her wrists, binding her with an intoxicating allure one she hadn't yet realized was perilous. "Together!" I shouted, my breath hitching. "You can break free. Hold on to me." For an agonizing heartbeat, I thought the darkness would claim her completely. But in a moment when it seemed the world itself had time stopped, I saw her resist. The look of determination replaced the flicker of fear as she steadied herself, wrestling against the shadows. Then it happened. A surge of raw energy coiled around us, and in that fraught moment of defiance, the barn trembled violently against her will, the ground shaking under a force both magnificent and terrifying. The lights flickered back to life, illuminating her face in a halo of defiance. "Sam!" She inhaled sharply, fear igniting her gaze one more time. What if they can help? What if I can use this power for good?" A cold shiver rippled down my spine, the precarious bridge we stood upon teetering closer to collapse. For at that moment, I doubted the pure intentions of the shadows that encircled her, realizing our greatest challenge wasn't the darkness outside but the one inside her heart. And just as the storm raged around us, a gut-wrenching realization struck. If she embraced this path, it could lead to the very rupture I feared, the breaking of our connection. "Lila, think!" I shouted desperately, feeling the growing dread far beyond the walls of the barn. "You don't know who you'll become," but it was too late. The shadows twisted violently, engulfing her entirely. The winds howled, and Lilith's last glance, laced with uncertainty, sliced through me like glass, yearning for understanding, but plunging headfirst into dark temptation, with my heart bearing the weight of impending loss. The spiraling vortex raged, spinning ever tighter, and as shadows closed in, revealing the stark beauty of dark promise, I dared to fear the moment when she would vanish, leaving behind the love I once knew, forever consumed by something I would never fully comprehend. The barn's fierce winds howled late into the night, drowning out the sounds of my heart shattering against the looming devastation before me. I could hardly breathe, the weight of Lilith's choice pressing down with a suffocating intensity. Standing alone in the vacated chaos, the shadows consumed her, dancing hungrily around her figure as I clutched at the remnants of our shared dreams like a lifeline that I stumbled back, paralyzed. My mind reeling with what had just unfolded, my hands trembled not just in fear but in a longing to reach out and pull her back to me. I had loved and admired her spirit, but now, that same spirit was baiting her into a whirlpool of darkness. Lila. The name echoed in the vast emptiness of the barn, a futile plea swallowed by grief. I turned on my heel, feeling the oppressive weight of the barn walls, the shadows whispering secrets that should never be unveiled. In this desolation, I saw not just my fears but the power of choice wrapped in the trembling fabric of her being. The distant flicker of lanterns outside sparked a flame of determination in me. I couldn't just let her drift away. I sprinted toward the barn door, tearing it open to face the storm outside. Rain lashed against my face, cold and biting, but I welcomed it like an old friend, anything to numb the growing ache in my heart. Lila. I screamed again, the word dissolving in the tempest as I searched the gnarled trees swaying in the wind, hoping against hope that somehow, she would hear me. Maybe, just maybe she was still there somewhere deep in the tangled mess of shadows. As I moved toward the fence that lined the edge of the field, the darkness shifted, morphing into abstract shapes that called to me in hissing voices. What you seek lies beyond, they cooed, tainted with malice, join her in power. No. I shouted vehemently, shaking off their whispers. I won't abandon you, Lila. Fingers trembling around the worn wood of the fence, I focused inward, the fire of my heart igniting once more with the clarity of my commitment. She needed me, even if she didn't understand it yet. The bond we shared was a force transcending mere words, etched into the very core of our beings. Suddenly, in the flickering light of the lanterns, I caught a glimpse of momentane ethereal shimmer that seemed to be struggling against the enveloping dark. Hope surged in me, stirring echoes of the girl who believed in love and freedom, in dreams worth fight for. The barn had morphed into full chaos, losing its identity as walls strained and creaked, but I couldn't afford to wait. I need your strength, Lila. I called again, desperate for nothing but a response. Let me show you who you truly are. As if my words had somehow pierced through the heaviness, that flicker turned into a blaze. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in agony at her defiance, and in that instant, I caught a sight of her face, a determined spirit standing at the edge of her consciousness. Sam. Her voice broke through the howling storm, tangled in uncertainty yet echoing strength. Help me break free, I pressed on, unrelenting. You can. You are stronger than this darkness they're trying to make you doubt yourself. But, with each moment, I sensed both shadows and turmoil close in on her more tightly, the billowing mass of desire sucking the hope from my lungs. Time was running thin. My heart raced, every second stretching into an eternity as I battled my way forward through the chaos toward her. Suddenly, I spotted a figure against the encroaching waves of night, eyes glinting with some sinister delight as Ryan re-emerged from the wreckage with a dance of shadows around him. You see, my dear Sam, his voice dripped with condescension, she has the chance to embrace her power, to elevate beyond your pathetic whims. Why do you care? I spat back, feeling fury surging through me as I kept my eyes on Lila. Your power isn't strength, it's a cage. The cage is but a stepping stone, he hissed, advancing toward her like a wolf sizing its prey. Why linger in the light when you could command the shadows? The sound of his words knifed through the fog of my mind, igniting visions of Lila slipping further from my grasp, consumed in illusions of grandeur. Fight it, Lila. I yelled as I lunged forward. Trust in your heart. You are not defined by these muffled desires. She hesitated, the shadows coiling tight around her like constrictors. I bore witness to the flicker of fear in her eyes transform, fighting against the darkness that clung desperately to her spirit, but just then, a crashing eruption of energy sent ripples through the shadows, causing them to splinter. "No!" Ryan shouted in fury, the thunderous clash of light and dark sending shockwaves through the barn. Lila, the essence of her defiance pulsed through the air, yet for every ounce of strength she exuded, another wave of darkness sought to claim her. As I reached out, my fingers brushing the dark tendrils that licked at her form, she looked back at me, wide-eyed, torn between the promise of power and the call of home. "Sam, I don't want to lose myself." Suddenly, as if answering her plea, a brilliant light flared from her heart, momentarily splitting the shadows in two. But joy turned to dread as Ryan's face twisted in triumphant rage. He grinned, revealing glimmering teeth. "You can indeed have it all, Lila. Join me, or lose everything." And before I could comprehend the moment, the barn trembled violently, walls cracking, echoes of lighthouses illuminating us against the encroaching darkness. "Sam!" Lila called, the weariness seeping into her voice. What if I can be both?" The ground beneath our feet vibrated with an ominous pulse, as if the barn itself was screaming a warning, trapped between two worlds, light and dark, love and power. "Lila!" I cried, realization constricting my chest. This was its stark decision laid bare before us. What would it mean to straddle the line? To perhaps lose her entirely? The shadows lashed out, reaching for her, pulling her steady toward Ryan, who gripped his hands tightly, eyes sparkling in expectation. "The choice is yours, dear Lila. Our power or your pathetic love story." In one fleeting moment, everything hung suspended in dread and impending disaster, my heart shattering anew at the prospect of losing the vibrant light that had once illuminated my world. The storm raged on, a deafening chorus of wind and rain, but within the chaos, I felt time slow. Every heartbeat echoed in my ears, matching the frantic rhythm of my thoughts. My pulse quickened as Lila stood before Ryan, suspended in the ever-widening chasm between light and darkness. The shadows swirled hungrily, eager to claim her while I fought to reach her soul. "Lila, please." My voice wavered, thick with desperation. I couldn't find the right words, but I had to say something. "You don't need power to be whole. You're already so much more than that." Her gaze darted back to me, locking on my eyes with an intensity that threatened to shatter me. What if I'm not enough as I am? The question hung heavy, the weight of her uncertainty threatening to pull her down into an abyss I couldn't follow. "You're everything," I asserted, forcing myself to take a step closer, to breach the invisible veil that separated us. "You're my world. Remember all those moments, the laughter, the dreams, the fights we shared against the winds? They made us strong." The shadows hissed louder, drowning her in an overwhelming tide of whispers. "He's lying," they urged. "He cannot give you this power. It is yours to claim." For a fleeting second, I saw a flash of fear ripple through Lila, and it pierced my heart. "You're not just a pawn, Lila. You have your own strength. The choices you make define you, not some twisted notion of power." "Join me, Lila," Ryan urged again, his words like honey dripping from a snake's fangs. "Everything you desire is within reach. Don't listen to him." I shouted, fighting the cold grip of despair wrapping around me tighter. "He only wants to use you." In her hesitation, I caught a glimpse of the girl I loved, a spark of rebellion flickering within the haze of her doubt. With every ounce of my being, I reached out for her. "You're worth so much more than you realize. Don't let him take you away from who you are." Each heartbeat drew me closer to her, urging me to break through the barrier that held us apart. Just as I was about to reach her, the shadows surged, writhing like a living thing, and Lila faltered, that flicker of defiance dimming. "No. Fight it." I screamed, my voice hoarse, drowning in a tide of dread as Ryan sneered triumphantly. "You're not his to claim. You're free." The barn shuddered violently, splintering wooden beams above us, casting down shards of light amid the chaos. "Lila!" I cried again, bewildered by how fragile everything felt. You have to make a choice now. Please, don't let them define you." With a gasp, Lila drew in a breath, her eyes glistening with tears. "What if I want both?" Her voice trembled but remained steady, a tiny ember of strength clinging to hope. "What if there's a way to have my power and still hold on to everything we share?" The air thickened with tension, shadows twisting tighter, hungry for her answer. "Lila, listen." I struggled to maintain focus as Ryan's smirk widened, drawing his power closer. "If you choose power, you might lose the very essence of who you are, the love that binds us." My heart twisted painfully, and I stepped closer, not breaking eye contact. "Please don't give in to this false temptation. You don't have to sacrifice everything to find yourself." Just then, the ground roared beneath us, and an eerie quiet fell, suffocating. It was as if the universe held its breath, anticipating the decision that would shift everything forward. Lila's entire being glowed faintly, caught between two realities, and my throat tightened at the sight of her struggling. Ryan stood poised, impatient and electrifying, ready to swat away any shred of hope I had for her. "Time is almost up, Lila," he hissed, glancing towards the gathering storm clouds above. "Embrace the night, or live entangled in his illusions." With a deep breath, Lila gathered herself, straightening against the encroaching darkness that sought to pull her into oblivion. I need more time," she cried, her voice unraveling in despair. "I can't decide." At that moment, a crackle of bright energy surged through the barn, illuminating the shadowy corners with a flicker of potential. I felt the air shift, something ancient and wild awakening within both of us. And then I heard Ida's voice, soft yet powerful, resonating from somewhere deep within Lila. "You already have what you need." Even as the shadows clawed at her, I sensed a shift, as if she were drawing strength from the very ground beneath her. Factors began to change once again as I leaned in, heart pounding, sensing the tide would turn. "That's it, Lila. It's in you." But just then, the barn trembled one final time, a shriek of wood and stone echoing through the storm as Ryan unleashed his wrath. "Choose." In that moment, as shadows coalesced into angry figures, Lila broke down, her body trembling as her eyes darted between us. A realization dawned, one that struck at the very heart of our battle. With an anguished scream, she murmured, "Sam, I don't know how to be both," and with that, the barn collapsed around us, darkness swallowing each flicker of light, a breathless plunge into the unknown. As the chips of wood fell, and shadows closed around her, I felt the breath leave my lungs. Everything was slipping away, my world collapsing in refracted time as I desperately reached for her, but her hand slipped from mine, swallowed whole by the impending shadows. "Lila!" I shouted as I fell into darkness, an echo of my heart shattering once more against the walls of this chaos. The last of her light vanished, leaving behind a hollow darkness that coiled around me like betrayal, and then silence enveloped me, thick and suffocating. No Lila. No dreams. Just the endless fall into despair, unsure of how to reclaim the love that had ignited my soul, forever lost in the shadows. The stillness pressed down on me, an unbearable weight that smothered hope. I gasped for breath in the dark void, the echoes of Lila's frightened voice haunting me. Where had she gone? Desperation clawed at my chest as I fumbled in the swirling shadows, instinctively chasing the flicker of her spirit that felt hauntingly close yet agonizingly out of reach. The silence stretched, an oppressive barrier that left me naked against the swirling darkness. It seemed to pulsate with malice, a living thing that sought to cling to me and drag me into the depths where despair thrived. "Lila!" I shouted again, each syllable a shard of glass cutting through the emptiness. Then, as if answering my call, the shadows receded ever so slightly, revealing a glimmer of light flickering in the distance. In that moment, dread and hope entwined within me, a fragile promise that Lila hadn't vanished completely. I pushed myself forward, embracing the light, my heart racing with renewed fervor. As I stumbled into the soft gleam, I stood at the edge of what appeared to be an ethereal wood, trees shimmering with a ghostly brightness, their leaves whispering as though the world itself had come alive. The air felt charged, a hum of magic reverberating against my skin. "Lila?" I called, each word laced with longing. I could feel her essence tingling at the fringes of my mind, as though she were just beyond the glistening veil of this new world. What had Ryan done to her? A movement to my right caught my attention, and I turned to see a figure emerging from the trees, draped in silver light. My heart stuttered as a familiar silhouette formed. Lila? I breathed, a mixture of disbelief and relief swelling within me, but it wasn't her. The figure stepped into the light fully, revealing a beautiful woman with hair that floated like rippling moonlight. Her presence dissipated the shadows around her, illuminating the space with a warmth I hadn't felt in what seemed like ages. Who are you? I managed, my voice trembling in reverence. I am a guardian of the threshold, she said, her voice enveloping me like a soft breeze. I hold the balance between light and darkness, a keeper of lost souls. Lilashesh needs me. I need her. I stammered, desperate to grasp the shimmering connection that felt so near yet impossibly far. Those who seek power often forget how to protect what truly matters, the guardian replied, her gaze piercing through me, reading the tumult swirling in my heart. Your love for her holds the key to her liberation, but I can't lose her. I exclaimed, a swell of panic rising anew. Not now, not ever, the guardian regarded me with gentle understanding. The journey to reclaim her will not be easy. Lila stands at a crossroads, torn between the shadows that wish to consume her and the love that can save her. You must brave the depths to bring her light, then guide me. I pleaded, desperation seeping into my cries. Show me how to reach her. With a nod, the guardian extended her hand, revealing an iridescent feather that caught the light like fire. This feather will guide you through the tempest of her soul. But take heed, the shadows will not relinquish their claim easily. They will lure you into illusions, testing your resolve. Trust in the bond you share. I clasped the feather tightly, feeling warmth surge into my palm. A flicker of hope ignited against the backdrop of encroaching dread. Thank you, I whispered, determination overcoming uncertainty. Remember, Sam, the guardian said softly. Love is a force stronger than any darkness. Let it guide you, and you may yet save her. As her form began to fade, the colors of her light blending into the trees, a new strength filled me. I focused on Lilith's essence, the light that remained tethered to my heart, and took a step forward into the embrace of the unknown. The world around me shifted, swirling like a tempest, colors melding and reshaping until I was thrust into a stark realistic endless expanse shrouded in mist and uncertainty. It was a chaotic mirror of my mind, a battleground of emotions and echoes where Lilith's laughter tangled with cries of despair. Lila. I called again, my voice amplified in the void. I'm here for you. In the distance, the fog began to part, revealing dark figures lurking among the swirling shadows, the embodiments of fear and doubt, closing in on my beloved. I felt the guardian's feather pulsing in my hand, a reminder of the strength we shared, and then, just as a flicker of recognition sparked in the shadows around me, I heard it again, a haunting melody, soft like twilight, threading through the air. That same voice, gentle yet courageous, resonated within the depths of my heart. Sam, help me. The shadows surged, rising like a tide toward me, eager to diminish what little light remained. I steeled myself, whispering a silent vow. I will find you, Lila. I will fight for you. But as the shadows clawed at my resolve, something sinister stirred within me, a darkness tapping into my own hidden fears. Images of the past danced hazily before my eyes, manifestations of doubt looming like specters in the folds of my memory, whispering the very words I had cast aside. Maybe you weren't enough all along, they taunted, voices weaving together in a twisted symphony. She's chosen the darkness. You can't save her. No, I murmured, shaking my head resolutely, unwilling to let their poison seep into my heart. I will not succumb, but the weight of their words pressed down, threatening to snap the thread I clung to so desperately. I felt myself falter for just a moment as shadows converged, and that dark realization washed over me. Didn't know if Lila would want to be saved. With the echo of her voice fading, a painful truth began to emerge. What if she had found a part of herself in the darkness? What if the power she craved was too intoxicating for her to ever let go? Did I have the strength to face the possibility that everything we had built was on the verge of crumbling, leaving nothing but empty echoes of love? As despair clawed at me, the feather pulsed, reminding me, love is a force stronger than darkness. Glaring at the advancing shadows, I summoned everything within me, every shred of affection I held for Lila, raising the feather high that I will not let you take her. I bellowed, my voice echoing defiantly. I believe in her, in us. The shadows hesitated, recoiling at my conviction. I felt the air around me crackle, the darkness wavering. But in their remnant laughter, a piercing realization cut through the void. I might have awakened the night, but I was still entirely unprepared for the truth I might uncover. As I surged forward towards the swirling mist, bright with intention, absorbing every ounce of my love, I spurred myself into action, fueled by the hope of reclaiming Lila, only to hear the haunting echo of her voice again. Not as a plea but as a whisper suffused with something darker than I could have anticipated. Sam, what if? I don't want to be saved, and that question, laden with a crystalline clarity, sent icy fingers of dread cascading down my spine, confirming what I had dared to consider. Lila's heart lay entangled in shadows beyond my grasp. The cliff beneath me crumbled as I moved forward, wavering on the edge of hope and despair. Each breath I took felt heavier than the last, each heartbeat resonating a reminder of the stakes before me. The shadows whispered promises of power, of belonging, mingled with Lila's fading essence, and gnawing doubts crept in, wrapping around my throat like a noose. Her voice, delicate yet resolute, reverberated in my mind. Sam, what if I don't want to be saved? The weight of her words pressed down, threatening to crush the fragile flicker of hope that still burned within me. I couldn't allow despair to take root. I forced the echoes of my fear aside and focused, but suddenly I found myself caught in the grip of uncertainty. What if Lila had indeed found a sense of belonging in the shadows? What if my love was not enough to draw her back from the depths where darkness thrived? But just as dread threatened to swallow me whole, I remembered the Guardian's words, love is a force stronger than any darkness. My mind clung to that truth, igniting a distant spark that rose within my chest. I pressed onward, determination coursing through me as I weaved my way deeper into the swirling abyss. Lila! I shouted, my voice ringing through the shadows once again. Remember who you are. You're more than the power they promise. We've faced so much together, you can't give up now. For an agonizing heartbeat, silence reigned. And then, beyond the mocking whispers that sought to diminish me, I felt a tiny spark, the essence of her spirit brushing against mine as softly as a summer breeze. There, beneath the heaviness and despair, I caught a tantalizing shift. Her connection reached out, intertwining with the very fabric of my heart. Sam, she breathed, a sliver of recognition lacing her tone. Yes. I cried, my heart swelling in fierce determination. It's me, Lila. I believe in you. You are not alone. Like a candle flickering against the wind, life surged within her. Shadows writhed and protested, fraying at the edges as she struggled against them. It was in that moment that I recognized the power of choice that dwelled in her. You can embrace your fears and still choose love. I urged, my voice climbing over the tumult of uncertainty. Let the light within guide you through. Radiant strength began to coalesce in her energy, each agonizing moment pulling us closer together until the shadows surrounding her faltered under the weight of her yearning for truth. I want to find my strength. Lila's voice trembled beautifully amidst the chaos, mingling with echoes of hope. In that moment, I lunged forward, reaching for her shimmering essence. The darkness roared, trying to wrap around her spirit to drag her back, but I wouldn't let go. My heart thundered against every whisper of despair as I pressed on, letting love fill me, resonating deep within. You are worth every fight, Lila. Stand with me, then. Something miraculous occurred. A golden light burst through the pattern of shadows like a dawning sun. Lila's light intertwined with mine, resonating in a harmonious blend that danced amidst the chaos. It flickered like fire and shattered the encroaching darkness, illuminating our shared path. Sam. I feel it. Her eyes shone with newfound strength as they locked with mine, glimmering like the stars amidst the night sky. I want to break free from this, then let's do it together. I shouted, heart racing with excitement, my hands gripping the ethereal bond that surged between us. The shadows recoiled, the tide of darkness lifting as the radiant energy expanded, filling the void we had both been lost in. Now, hold on to your light. I encouraged, knowing that in this moment, we would rise against the shadows that sought to claim us both. With an explosive surge, we drew from that connection, intertwining our spirits and fortifying our resolve. I felt Lila's warmth flow through mere love and hopes mingling like molten gold, merging into a force strong enough to confront whatever awaited us. The shadows howled in fury as they began to dissipate, unraveling against the brilliance we forged together. I felt the weight of fear lift as ripples of our love began to radiate outward, casting aside the tendrils that had threatened to ensnare us both, and then, as if the very fabric of reality shifted, we found ourselves standing in the once familiar barn illuminated. The warmth of the summer sun streamed through the cracked windows, engulfing us in a cocoon of renewal. Breathless, I glanced over at Lila, still flickering with divine radiance. What had once been overshadowed now glowed with the light of freedom and resilience. We did it, I breathed, disbelief rolling through me as I lowered my arms. Her eyes glistened, reflecting 1,000 unspoken miracles. "I'm here, Sam. I'm really here." With that whisper, the weight of fear lifted completely, transformed into a newfound understanding. Our bond had transcended darkness and redefined who we were meant to be. We had woven a new chapter together, something even the shadows couldn't sever. "What now?" she asked, her voice low and tender, as if still tasting the remnants of her doubts and fears. "Now?" I smiled softly, taking her hand in mine, feeling the warmth radiate through every fiber of my being. "Now, we create our own story, one that's filled with light, love, and courage." Together, the boundaries we had once felt would cage us had now become the foundation of our freedom. We looked around, the barn now alive with possibilities, the sun cascading in, and under this radiant embrace, I could feel the echoes of our love whispering against the gentle breeze of hope. As we stepped forward into the sunlight, my heart swelled, reflecting the promise of forever. In that moment, an understanding settled within. Darkness we had faced had been a catalyst for our journey. It led us to a life filled with acceptance, love, and resilience, unshackled from the confines of fear. Together, I murmured softly as our fingers interlaced, knowing no matter what lay ahead, we would face it side by side, and that was enough. With each step into the world beyond the barn, a profound wisdom unfurled within me, planting seeds of belief that would flourish into beautiful tomorrows. As we walked, the shadows faded, mere memories of a time when doubt held sway, while the sunlight enveloped us like a warm embrace, reminding us of the relentless power of love. In that moment, I understood, we weren't just survivors, we were warriors of our story, ready to embrace whatever the future held. And as we ventured forward into new horizons, I whispered the words I'd carry with me always. Whatever lay ahead, we would etch our names among the stars. Love had brought us back, love would carry us through, and I could finally breathe again, because some shadows, no matter how dark, can never dim the light of a resilient heart.